I'm Jessie Draper, the Valley Girl. What does your company do? Have you ever Googled yourself?
Totally.
What makes a great entrepreneur? What's your next big idea? Tweeting's like my favorite. Let's talk business.
I'm like the Valley Girl.
Sheryl Sandberg is currently the COO of Facebook. Prior to that, she was VP at Google and also worked for the Clinton administration. She currently sits on the board of Starbucks and Disney. She is definitely a rockin' woman.
Well, Sheryl, how you doing?
Great. Thanks for coming to Facebook. You brought a little paint to our set.
I don't even think you'd recognize that it was Facebook here in this little corner.
We got the orange chairs.
We got the orange chairs, definitely. So I want to talk a little about your background first. You worked for the Clinton administration, and then you went to Google, and now you're at Facebook. What was your very first job?
Oh, my very first job was when I was in high school. My father's an ophthalmologist.
Okay.
And his office was supposed to be open during the weekend on Saturday. And I think the person who was running it on Saturday morning quit. So I used to drive up to my dad's office 10 minutes at 8:30 on Saturday morning, and I worked from 8:30 to 12:30. And there's one doctor on call, and I would check the patients in, take their insurance,
so you
photocopy
must have great eyes.
No, I have good contacts like everyone else. But I used to check the patients in, and I used to take their glasses and read their glasses, and it was all very, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
This was all very manual. I had to write everything in a chart.
Oh, awesome.
I was an office assistant. It was great.
So now it's not now you're, not writing things in a chart, but you're writing things on your Facebook wall, probably.
I think everyone says this, all your jobs are just like your first job. There's always something that carries over.
I heard you used to be an aerobics instructor. Is that true?
This is true. I have survived with no one asking me this question publicly,
seriously?
but it's okay. It fits with the pink.
It fits with the pink.
I was an aerobics instructor
was
in
it
the 80s.
aerobicized?
Oh no, in the 1980s. You can't even remember what this was, but the silver leggings, the leg warmers, the band, the thing right here, whatever the headband, the whole thing.
I would love to see a picture of that. That's amazing.
I have done a lot to hide all those pictures.
Well, I'm so glad I could bring it up here on the Valley Girl Show. Now tell me, you do a lot for women in business, and you're a huge supporter, and I am just such a fan of that. What's some advice you have for women in business? Just women getting into business and encouragement.
I think the number one thing we need to do to change what is really a stalled revolution at the top of all of our industries, including business.
I've heard you talk about this stalled revolution.
Yeah, women became in the United States 50% of the college graduates in 1981. And since then, women have made steady progress at every level. Every year more graduate from college. More get law degrees and business degrees and graduate degrees of all sorts. More get entry-level jobs, more get manager-level jobs. Except the very top, in the last 10 years, we've basically stalled out. So women in corporate America are kind of 15 to 16% of the board seats in the top jobs, and it's stopped moving.
I hate that. I hate it.
Yeah, we also lost seats in the last congressional election. So if we keep making progress, but we don't make progress at the top, that's a stalled revolution. And so I think the most important thing we can do is get women to start out in their career assuming they want to stay in. And that doesn't mean they have to, because people have to make personal choices and people have kids. The majority of taking care of children still falls overwhelmingly to women, which is part of the underlying issue.
But women are great multitaskers.
Women can be great multitaskers,
Can be.
but it is hard to be at home with your child and at work at the same time. And until we have equal homes, it's very hard to have equal performance at work. But I think women know this. And I think a lot of the women graduating today, they watch their moms, and my mom was home.
Yeah.
But the generation after me, which may be in between us, or your generation, their moms were working, a lot of them, and their moms were tired and harried and maybe didn't spend as much time, and so they went the other way, and they kind of start their careers looking for balance. Not everyone, but more of them. And so if you start your career, as if you're not sure you're going to stay in.
Or maybe go after what you want to do, and then you'll want to stay in it.
Exactly. I think that women need to keep their foot on the gas pedal until they have a decision to make, not earlier.
How do you keep your foot on the gas pedal?
I think you continue to reach for growth opportunities, and that doesn't just mean like upward progression on some silly career ladder and
Right.
promotions. It means opportunities where you are growing. And I think you have to start out assuming you want to stay in so that you have the option of staying in. So, you know, when you're in the law firm, do you think 5 years, well, maybe I don't even want to be a partner because I might want kids one day? No, just assume you might want to be a partner. Keep your foot on the gas pedal, and then, you know, you'll have that option. And then you can choose or not choose. What I've seen in my career over and over is that women don't make one decision to leave the workforce. They make these small little micro decisions along the way that they think
Like little baby steps.
Little baby steps. I would actually feel better about it if they were actually spending more time doing yoga or taking care of themselves. They're not. They're working just as hard. They're just not working at the same level they would because they're not sure they want to stay in.
Interesting.
And so I think we need to get women to start out aiming big and staying in and make decisions later. They'll have better decisions to make.
I think that is very good advice. Now, you, speaking of time management, I have no idea how you do it. You know, you are on how many boards? You're on the board of Starbucks, Disney.
2 corporate boards, Starbucks
Two
and
corporate.
Disney.
Okay, and then you run these great women's groups, and you are the CEO at Facebook. How do you do all of this?
You know, I do everything not as well as I would like to, pretty much. I try to pick the really important things at work, so you get really focused. And I tell my teams this too. There's this guy, Chamath, who worked at Facebook for a long time. He used to talk about ruthlessly prioritizing. That's what this is. You ruthlessly prioritize. You can only do so much. There are 5 more projects you want to do, but you pick the 3 that are really going to matter, and you try to do those really well, and you don't even try to do the others.
It's really funny because I feel like with the internet, it's, you know, more and more emails are always coming in, and it becomes more and more difficult to prioritize.
Being proactive is really important because, like all of us, any of us can get totally overwhelmed with what people want of us, and then you can spend all day answering all your email and not actually accomplish. So what I try to do, and I try to help others do, and you know, I'm not perfect at it, but is try to set out, like at the beginning of the week or the month, what matters, and make sure that even before you answer all your email, you can get through that.
I love that. What matters?
What matters?
Like November 1st.
What you're going to remember.
Every month.
What you're going to remember, yeah.
That's great. That's a really great way to go through life. Now, so I was talking to the girl at the front desk, who is super cute, by the way, and she was telling me, she's like, I don't even know when Sheryl sleeps. Like, when do you sleep? She's like, she sleeps in the shower. That's what she said.
No, I think sleep's really important. I think you definitely sleep less before you have little kids.
Okay.
But my kids are getting older.
Yeah, because and you have 2 little kids.
Yeah, I have a 4 and a 6-year-old. We're on this you must stay in your bed till 6 plan.
Oh, okay.
Which doesn't always work, but we're trying. But you must stay in your
6
bed.
6 a.m.
6 a.m.
Okay.
6 a.m. Before that is just inhumane. But I actually think sleep is really important. Ariana Huffington's on this whole sleep kick, where she's talking to everyone about sleep, and I'm no doctor, but I really think sleep's actually pretty important, so I do try to get some.
I think it is. I think it is definitely important. Now, okay, what are you the most excited about right now at Facebook?
I think I'm the most excited about the impact we're having. You know, the story of how big we've grown has obviously been true for a long time, and that's great because then we connect more people's lives, but I'm excited about the impact we're having. So I'll share one story. This happened just last week. My grandmother passed away.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, she was, 94. She'd been sick for a long time. And I wrote a Facebook post. And I wrote basically what I would have written as her obituary. And I wasn't sure how broadly to share it. I have my friends and I have some subscribe people. You don't know all of those people if they're following you. And I don't have a tremendous number, but I have some. And at first I posted it just to friends. And then I thought, maybe I should post this publicly. Obituaries were always public. They went in the newspaper. This is my newspaper. So I posted it publicly. Then I thought, well, maybe this is too personal. And I changed the privacy, which we allow you to do, and I put it back to friends. And I'm like, no. This is the obituary. We're not putting one in the newspaper. I'm going to do this. And so I posted it to public, and I left it. And I don't remember, maybe 24 hours later, I had literally thousands of likes and hundreds of comments. And I read every single one. And I think a death in your family is always kind of lonely, right? You feel like
definitely.
this loss. And I read these people's comments, and some of them I'd never met and will never meet, but they were writing about their grandmothers or their grandparents.
Oh my gosh.
And it made me feel connected to people in a time when I really needed that connection. And so even for me at Facebook, there were these moments that really surprised me with how much impact we can have on people's lives and even on my own, and that feels great.
That is such a great story. Thank you for sharing that. That, you know, I've definitely had that moment too where you go on Facebook and you're like, I feel like that's too personal. I feel like I should erase that. And then you go back, you kind of switch
Back and forth.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that. Now, also, you know, there are so many different generations on Facebook right now. And my mom's not on Facebook. So I know.
Tell your mom.
I know, it's ridiculous.
We've got
So what would you
pages.
tell my mom? What would you tell my mom? How would you convince her to get on Facebook?
I would tell her that Facebook can be used however you want to use it. So I think when I hear people who aren't on Facebook, it's usually that I don't want, you know, tons more people to know everywhere I am, or I don't want more people to be able to connect to me. And the thing about Facebook is it's really whatever you want it to be. There are people who use Facebook to share every move they make all day long with the whole world. And there are people who get on Facebook and friend 5 people. They just say no to everything else, and they share with those 5 people. There are people who get on Facebook just to see pictures of their grandkids, and that's it. And so Facebook's a really, you know, versatile tool. And so there's got to be something she'd like to do that she can do through Facebook, and it doesn't have to be that she has to do everything she sees everyone else doing.
I like that. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Okay, I'll tell my mom. So now, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self? What one piece of advice?
Oh, I worked for Larry Summers for a long time, and he said that getting older was about getting wiser. And what getting wiser meant is you kind of the highs, you took out some of the variance, that the lows are really not as bad. And in some ways, the highs are not as serious. And what you really want is to get rid of all the lows and keep the highs. So we'll take the advice that way. But I think, you know, there are things which happen to all of us that are super upsetting at the time, or that we think are the hugest deal. And really, they're not. And humans are amazingly resilient. And we can all get through whatever life throws our way if we remember that. And I think, you know, on top of that, keeping your sense of humor. You know, some of the best ways I think to handle the hard stuff is just
I'm all about the sense of humor.
joke about it.
Yeah, I think that's how I think crying and laughing is so close. You know, they're so similar. A lot of people
And let
say
yourself do both.
that. Yes,
Let
definitely.
yourself do both.
God, you're incredible.
You're incredible.
No. This is just really, you are just so inspiring to women, to people everywhere. I'm just humbled to be in your presence.
Well, there's absolutely no need for that. I mean, I think for all of us, it's about, you know, what do you do when you wake up that day? How do you make the world like slightly better of a place than it was before, or accomplish something that you wanted to accomplish, that you cared about? So.
Well, okay, so we're about to go take a tour around the office. What should we check out?
You should check out the posters.
The posters.
Our culture is really embodied in these
culture.
posters. Yeah, the culture is about doing things,
Okay.
shipping product. And so we have these great posters, you know, what would you do if you weren't afraid? Done is better than perfect. We're 1% of the way there. These great like cultural posters that I think as often as I see them serve as a reminder to me to like keep reaching, and I think they're great.
Okay, so we'll definitely be checking
Check
out the
out the posters.
posters. Well, Sheryl, I know you have limited time, and I really appreciate you doing this. So thank you
for
so
coming.
much.
Thanks for coming to Facebook.
Thank you. Let's go in. Cherry. Duh. I'm like the Valley Girl.
And I'm like Sheryl Sandberg of Facebook.
Well, thanks. I love Facebook. This
Thank
is
you.
just such a fun place to walk around,
It's a really
and
great
there's so much
place.
stuff. It sounds like everyone can decorate their desks.
Oh
too.
yeah,
It's
I mean
really-
there are like no rules here. You know, it's just
No
not here we
rules.
are. There are
My
basically
favorite
no
kind of
rules.
place.
Bye.